Hello, my name is Bill Sterling, and I am the pastor of Bethany United Methodist Church, located in Berlin, Maryland. First, I want to thank you for taking time to watch my video, and it is my hope and prayer that the thoughts that I share from the Scriptures will bring you peace and comfort, and closer to God, and maybe deepen your relationship with God. What I'm going to do this month in September at Bethany, I've got a series of sermons, and essentially the title of the 4 Sundays will be Standing Strong When Everything Else Around You Seems to Be Falling Apart. And this Sunday I'm going to be talking about how do I think about God and talk about God in times like these. We live in really kind of crazy and wild times. The news is depressing and discouraging. Just every time we turn on the news, there's rioting, there's violence, there's threats of war, threats of this, threats of that, the economy, people still unemployed, do we send the kids back to school or not, and so forth. And it's just really chaotic. And it's almost like somebody said to me one time, it's like we're in a free fall. And today I was having a conversation with someone, and they made an interesting comment. And they were talking about back during the lockdown. And I thought, wow, the lockdown has made it into our history. It's a part of our consciousness. Like the Depression, World War II, World War I, Vietnam, the Apollo program, whatever it is. Do you remember when we were in the lockdown? And we've kind of come out of that to some degree, but there's still a lot of questions, and when you look at, one expert says this, one says the other, and it seems like there's just so much confusion. To couple that with the fact that we cannot touch people, we can't hug, we can't get close to people, we wear masks, all that kind of stuff. It really just keeps us kind of separated. And then there are those folks who are single, not just elderly folks, but also young people. Young people who are single, and maybe they've moved here near Berlin and Ocean City, and they've moved from California or Chicago or Texas or somewhere, and they haven't been able to get back to home, and they don't have any really close friends here, and so that they're going through this kind of by themselves, and many times they just stay in their apartments. I spoke to someone the other day who traveled to another country, and immediately upon arrival they had to quarantine themselves 14 days by themselves in their hotel room, their apartment. And it was really tough. It was really, really tough for them. So as we look about this as Christians and so forth, what do we make of all of this? I know as a pastor, I get a lot of questions about this. Is this the judgment of God? Is it one of the seals of Revelation? Is it one of the trumpets of Revelation? Is God punishing us? All those kinds of questions. Is this near the end? Is God going to come soon? Well, I believe he's going to come sooner than later, and simply because the fact we are closer to his coming now than we were a week ago, a month ago, or a year ago. But if this pandemic and all the chaos and so forth is a judgment, I don't know. I'm not a prophet. I do not have the gift of prophecy. But what I do know are some specific things about God that have helped me deal with this and help me survive in it, as it were, and help me really be strong in my faith. And as I talk with folks in the church, in the community, friends of mine, Zooming and Facebook and telephone, and so forth, and 6 feet apart, muffled through a mask, all of these things, there's some common threads running around that really have to deal with how do we think about God in all of this, and how do we talk about God. It just seems like talk about God now, it's a flashpoint, but how do we do it? How do we do it? So I'm going to be looking at the next few weeks, looking at this idea of just standing strong when everything around us seems to be falling apart. And this Sunday, I'm going to be preaching on 2 texts, Isaiah 26:3 and Psalm 119, verses 89 through 96. And let me just share very briefly one little aspect of Isaiah's words. Isaiah says, "You," meaning God, "will keep in perfect peace all who trust in you and whose thoughts are fixed on you." You will keep in perfect peace all who trust in you, all whose thoughts are fixed on you. Now the questions around this are, number one, what does it mean to fix our thoughts, our minds on God? And number two, how does God keep us in perfect peace? As a matter of fact, you can have a third question, what is perfect peace? And these are the things that we're going to be looking at this week. But the important thing to remember is that God has promised to be with us, even in the crazy times, even in times like this. And in times like this, when it seems the very foundations are just crumbling away, we remember that God is a rock. Jesus is the cornerstone, and he is the rock of ages. He's the rock that will not be moved. And the great rock of our faith is the declaration of Peter. When he is asked by Jesus, who do you say that I am? Peter says, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. And because of that, God is with us even now. We might not be able to perceive him, and we wonder if maybe he's abandoned us or left us, or I don't feel him. But the great thing is, God's love for you and me and God's presence doesn't depend on how we feel. It depends on his word and his promise. And God's promises are true. So for the next several weeks, my videos are going to kind of focus on this. We're going to be looking at some of the names of God, some of the names and the attributes of God, and what they mean for your life and mine. So I invite you just to begin today, just having that sense of God being present with you. And check out Isaiah 26:3 and Psalm 119 verses 89 to 96. Ponder them, think about them, mull them over, turn them over in your head, and kind of park them for a little while, and then go back and revisit them, and see if you can't begin to get a deeper sense of God's presence with you, and just the assurance that God is going to see us through this time. Again, I want to thank you for listening. I want to invite you to attend our services. We are on Zoom, and also we meet outside under magnolia trees at the church. Bring your lawn chair if you're close by. Bring your lawn chair, your mask, some water, and prepare to worship. And if you're tuning in online, if you go to our Facebook page at Bethany UMC Berlin, you will find information about our service times and how to access the Zoom. But in the meantime, remember, God is with you, and God hasn't left you, and God's going to see you through this. May God bless you, and may God give you peace in your heart and help you stand strong. Amen.